And clear of the closing doors, please.
What up, someone up? Grind and Pivot, Louie Max, Queens, New York. Today in the house, the hardest hitting MFer in show business. Fasten your seatbelts, kids, because we have a drummer's drummer on board. Salute, salute, salute to the one and only, one of my faves, Kenny Aronoff. Kenny, how you doing, baby?
Great intro. See you guys. That was great. I'll see you next time. That was that was a super Queens, New York, intro. That was good. I never had anybody say salute, salute, salute.
Absolutely.
You're special, man. You did something unique.
I appreciate it, man. So everything's doing well. I'm glad you took the time here. I know you're a real busy dude. I'm going to start off right from the top. Oh, by the way, also an Indiana Hoosier. Yeah. I got my IU thing going, so I wanted to bring it. I know originally from the Berkshires, but we're gonna get to that point at some point in time. So one of the things I've been thinking about is, what is your top holy shit moment gig that still kind of gives you the chills? You got one or two?
Oh, definitely got more than one or two. One that was like unique and different that only once in a lifetime was when I played with 25 artists, famous artists of all kinds of genres, for the Obama inauguration out on the, Lincoln Memorial. And that was the same basic team I was in that band that did the Kennedy Center honors, handpicked A-list musicians that could read and you're playing with everybody from Sting to Springsteen to Elton John to Lionel Richie to ex-bosses, Mellencamp, Melissa Etheridge, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Chris Cornell, Steven Tyler, on and on and on. So that was a chill. And anything at the Kennedy Center honors, that's the Super Bowl. That's the most intense gig ever. You only get a couple rehearsals. You're playing with these iconic artists. You play with 7 in a row, honoring somebody like Led Zeppelin or The Who, and they're up there in the audience sitting with the President of the United States. You don't mess around. And so those gigs, I'd say, another great iconic moment was when I finally was playing a sold-out concert with John Mellencamp in the 80s at Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden was, the go-to. That was the venue in the United States. That maybe in the LA Forum, but to me, Madison Square Garden, because when I was a kid, I thought, wow, Madison Square Garden. We sold it out. We could do 2 nights there with no opening act. So those were huge moments. Another moment was I played at Ford Theater, where that's where Abraham Lincoln got shot. And it was a special event and Bill Clinton's right there. And in my book, I have a book, an autobiography called Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll. In it, I describe a moment with me and Bill Clinton, and it was pretty, oh my God. I had a personal conversation with him right in front of everybody on stage, and it was unbelievable. It's like, I was just, it was my second year in a row. The year before I did it with Bon Jovi, and this time I did it with Fogerty. This time, and at the end, it's like a variety show. At the end, you have a semicircle on stage. They're running the credits, and the First Lady and the President walk down, shake our hands. He gets to me, he's really charming, shakes my hand, walks past us, goes to David Copperfield. Then he comes back to us because we're the rockers. He loves rock and roll. And I said to him, dude, I just was a true story.
Wait. Quote, dude?
Probably. No, I think I said Mr. President.
You're right. Okay, good.
The other time I met him, I probably said dude. But this time it was like Mr. President or Mr. Clinton or whatever. I said, man, I was just in New York recording, and then I was in LA recording. I swear to God, dude, everybody told me to tell you they love you, they support you. And this was the peak of the Monica Lewinsky investigation. Ken Starr had his fist up his butt. It was really a tough moment for him. And he smiled at me, and he shook my hand, but then put his other hand on my forearm and pulled me in real close. Didn't talk in my ear, looked me right in the eye and said, they've been trying to get me out of office for 6 years. It ain't gonna happen, dude. He may have even used the F word. It ain't gonna happen. And just smiled, and I just laughed my ass off. I thought, oh my God, this guy just told me. It was funny in the after party, some of the Congress people and representatives, were having dinner, and they kind of come, hey, man, you guys were great, man. Hey, what the president say? I said, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing,
of course, right.
Nothing.
Yeah, the code.
And Saturday Night Live. And I was on Saturday Night Live 6 times. That's like, it's live, man. I was on with Mellencamp 4 times, Smashing Pumpkins, and Willie Nelson and Paul Simon together.
Wow.
I mean, the Saturday Night Live is like, that's the pinnacle.
So those are definitely some goosebump moments. That's real cool. Go back for a second. Let's talk a little bit for a few minutes, if we can, about what it's like, the process of the rehearsals for, let's say, the Kennedy Center, the first one you were talking about, or what's it like? How do you prepare? That's really how does a musician prepare? How do you personally put it together?
Okay. First of all, I'm waiting, we don't even get the music or what songs we're going to play till a week before. But I write everything out, as I showed you. I write every friggin' note out. But the thing is, so let's say we're honoring, the first time I did it was George Jones. So I'm playing with 7 country artists.
All right.
But I'm also doing the Who segment. Couldn't be more opposite.
Correct.
So I'm sitting there waiting. They finally tell us what songs and who's going to sing them. So I start writing. I write detailed charts, every note that was on the albums, the original recordings. Then if it's an artist like when we honored Sting, I knew, and Bruno Mars was doing medley, I knew that Bruno Mars did a Police medley. So I go on YouTube and observe the latest version of what maybe the way he plays those songs. So I write charts out for that. Then we fly in on a Thursday night. Friday morning, I go very early to the Kennedy Center Honors. The drums are set up on stage and they're set up in a rehearsal place. But I don't have a personal tech. I got a guy who kind of sets the stuff up. So I go over every drum set and make sure I'm ready, to both places. Then I go and I'm waiting. I'm saying hi to everybody. The first time's the scariest. But I'm waiting for the musical director to walk in with his big set of charts. Because those charts are different arrangements.
Yeah, they're all different arrangements, correct, right.
Than from what I got. So what I do is I'm waiting. I got tempos for every song from the record, and if I'm watching something on YouTube, I'm ready. As soon as he picks one song out, I'm scrambling, and his charts have letter A, letter B, letter C. There's no way I'm going to copy all my stuff over to his. So what I do is I take the letters and move them to my charts, and then I notice, oh my God, there's only one chorus. Oh my God, they cut that out. Oh my God, they cut that out. Meanwhile, he's talking. I'm like panicking because he's going to say, okay, let's go. And I'm like going, holy shit. And then he might go, okay, we're going to play this. Kenny, what tempo you got? Play it for me. Okay, let's play it 2 beats faster. All right. So we start running it down. Then it's just constant remarks. And I'm constantly rewriting, writing, editing everything to get ready. Because what we're going to do is rehearse all the 7 Zeppelin songs or the Who songs that we're going to do. And then at lunch, I go running to wardrobe, get fitted for stuff that they want us to wear. That come back. Now the artists start coming in. The artists come in and they make changes.
Like they have their own also, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So I start doing that. Then they leave and we might rehearse. We're done at night after dinner. I rewrite all my charts based on all the...
What you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I stay up till 3 a.m. Next day we come in, we'll do... I'll then do, let's say, with the George Jones segment, same thing, or I go to the stage and we do a camera block. This is now Saturday. Do a camera block for the Who segment, and I'm writing down, basically I'm trying to get the flow of the order of the songs. I talk to the stage manager, the musical director, and the producer, and eventually get the script of the show so that I understand the flow. I have to, if I'm going to count songs off, I want to know, is it after Tom Hanks says something? Is there a movie? Is somebody reading a teleprompter?
Cues.
Which direction?
Cues. You need cues.
Yeah, direction. Somebody's walking on stage. Does somebody have to retune their guitars? Is there something I need to know before I count up? So I'm making all those notes on my stuff. Then we go back down. This is still Saturday, and we start rehearsing the George Jones segment before the artists come in. Then they come in, and we do their stuff. Now it's Saturday night. Go home to the hotel, rewrite the charts for the country segment, George Jones segment, and make any more rewrites that I need to for the Who segment in case there was some additional notes and things changed during the camera block. Sunday, day of the show, come in. So, a lot of times, some of the artists don't come in till day of the show, so we've now got to rehearse their part, and we do the country Usually it'd be, let's say, Willie Nelson. He comes in on a Sunday. Garth Brooks might come in on a Sunday. He's doing the George Jones segment. We rehearse their stuff. Then we go up and do camera block for their segment. Then we do a complete run-through of the entire show. And so I'm in the two musical components, but then they've got, like, they might be honoring a ballerina, and they might be honoring, they usually have 5 people they're honoring. There might be like Tom Hanks, a producer, or Spielberg. So we run the entire show without the artists, and they're filming us and recording us. Because if something goes wrong during the show, they got this as backup. And we have to be dressed up, and I mean, it's full on. Then we have maybe 2 hours. We have 2 hours or 3 hours. We go back to the hotel. I rewrite again.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Anything that I need to know.
Right. Final touch.
I get dressed. I calm down for a second. I run and rehearse all the tricky segments. I'm constantly rehearsing and running through it. Then we go back to the event, and then the show starts. And I mean, it's 3 hours, and it is full on focus.
Right.
And it's like the drummer cannot make a mistake. But things I know when I get on that stool and it's ready to go, it's like getting on a Brahma bull, and I know something, most likely one thing goes wrong, and I have to be prepared to solve the problem. And people expect me to do that. And so you know, they kept inviting me back every year until the producer, he got released, and they added a new producer, and then they have a new team. So right. I did it for 7 years.
Wow. Well done. Well done, man. So one question, let's go back for 1 second now, because we could speak for hours on the whole thing. What was it like? Take us through maybe when, for the Who.
Well, they're just up and sitting with the president. So for me, it's heavy, because when I was a little kid, I went and saw the Who do Tommy. When Tommy came out, I might have been 13, and I was in the second row with long hair, with a fringe rock and roll jacket,
right,
smoking a joint and looking at them, and now I'm performing for them. Their music. Right. And the same with Zeppelin. I mean, I remember I performed with Lenny Kravitz and Kid Rock on that. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, I was like, I just can't believe I'm performing for these people. It's just
mind blowing, right? Mind blowing.
Mind
even for you,
and
even for you, right?
And look, let me tell you something. I mean, after when I performed when we honored Sting, and I was playing with Springsteen, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars. That's 3. I can't even remember the other. There was like 4 other artists, and I remember afterwards going to the after party, and I nailed it. But I'm playing all these intricate drum parts that, like, for that the Police did, that Stuart Copeland did, or Vinnie Colaiuta did on Sting's solo records. And they're intricate, and I try to honor them. I try to mimic exactly the spirit and the vibe of the original recordings, And so I went to the after party, and I walk up. It's very private, and there's Tom Hanks holding court. Now, I did that thing you do. The drum part for that main hit. And Tom loves me. You know, we became friends, and to the extent where I walk in the room and he's holding court with Spielberg, Springsteen, Herbie Hancock, you know, Sting, all these people. And he looks at me and goes, Kenny, you know, I was up on stage, up there with the president, and I saw you come on, and I see the glasses and the bald head. He says, I told my wife, Rita, I think that's Kenny playing, man. It's going to rock tonight. And I said to him, I said, you know, when they honored you, and I wanted to rip the drummer off this drum set and jump in because they played That Thing You Do. But I noticed that was one of my students. So I felt like, nah, I better not do that.
Right, can't steal it.
Because he should have done it, man.
That's great.
Anyway, Sting comes flying at me, gives me a hug and kisses me and said, you crushed it. Can you imagine how I felt?
Right.
Oh, my God. I was just, and Springsteen's more subtle. He just went, man, you were great, Kenny. You sounded great. Oh, man, dude, that's like, it doesn't get any better.
It does not get any better. So take us back. Where did you grow up, and when did the whole music and drumming bug hit you?
Well, I always was into drums as a little kid. They had me in diapers, dancing to, you know, music. My parents grew up in New York, and my dad was in Jersey, but eventually moved to New York. So they're on the turntable. It was jazz and classical music, and then Broadway musical type stuff. So, and the parents would take me to Tanglewood, which was 3 miles away from our house in the Berkshires, to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra. There's a lot of jazz in our area because they had a summer program up there. So it was music 24/7. But one day I was outside playing with my twin brother, and there was nothing to watch on TV back then. So we were always outside inventing things to do. And my mom yells at us, screams at us one day to come in the evening, to come in the house immediately. We think we're in trouble. But when we got into the family room, she's pointing to this old black and white RCA TV set with the rabbit ears, you know, to get reception.
Of course.
No cable. So on the TV were these 4 guys in suits, but not like your normal suits. They're like not your dad's suits. They were like rock and roll suits, and they had electric guitars, bass, and they had long hair, blah, 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 blah. And it's the Ed Sullivan Show, and it's the Beatles. So they start playing, and I don't know who they are. I go completely berserk. It's like it was that exact moment. You know, I was feeling passion, excitement. You know, it wasn't a mental thing. I was like going bonkers emotionally. It was that exact moment, and I was totally unaware of it, that I realized what my purpose in life was before I even knew what those words meant. You know, I'm just like, shit, I don't know who they are. I don't know where they're from, but I want to be doing that.
Wow.
So I go, Mom, who are these guys? She said, they're the Beatles. And, you know, I'd heard them on the radio, but I hadn't ever seen anything like this. You have to remember, there's no internet. So there's no YouTube, Nothing. There's no Wikipedia, there's no TikToks, there's no Instagram. So I'm like, how am I going to see them again? Where do I go see them? Who do I talk to? Who's my man? There's no rule book. I'm like, Mom, I want to play in the Beatles. You got to call them up and get me in the band.
Great.
and the hell with those piano lessons. I'm playing
it's over.
Drums.
There you go. Really?
So I said, Mom, I want to play drums. Well, my parents didn't get me a drum set, and they definitely didn't call the Beatles up. They didn't have their number. So they saw that I was completely goo-goo about, music and playing the drums. And my parents were very supportive. Look, if the kid's got passion, let's let him do it.
Beautiful.
So, I mean, there was a moment my mom said, no, you gotta keep playing piano, because she believed. I get it. I remember taking the piano music, ripping up and throwing it in her face, and running around the table going, drums, 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 drums. And so anyway, they went to Manny's Music. Remember that on 48th?
Absolutely, down on 48th. Yeah.
That was the music store. Everybody was listening. If you could walk in there, and Jimi Hendrix would walk in, or Led Zeppelin,
that was the street, man, back then.
Yeah.
Woo.
Sam Ash and Manny's Music.
Right.
So they got me a snare drum and a cymbal, and so I started practicing beats to 45s, and then I started a band called the Alley Cats, and we played Beatles music. So I just envisioned myself in the Beatles. But here's the killer part of this story. 50 years later, I don't know how that is because
that's absurd.
30.
I know that's totally. We can't even get into that.
I'm 30. I'm 30. So somehow it was 50.
Yeah.
I get a call to do a CBS special. I'm already Kenny Aronoff. I do all these big TV shows like the Kennedy Center Honors and whatnot. So I get a call to be the drummer in the band that's going to honor the Beatles for the Ed Sullivan Show. And I get to play with the two remaining Beatles, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, to start with. But I also get to play with Stevie Wonder, Dave Grohl, Jeff Lynne from ELO, Joe Walsh, Keith Urban, John Mayer, Alicia Keys, John Legend, Brad Paisley, Pharrell Williams, and on and on and on. So, I crushed it. But, I'm saying it because let me tell you something. You guys out there, I got this saying, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. It's like a running back in football. They don't get touchdowns all the time. They could blow through walls. They're the baddest ass mofo athletes, but they don't get touchdowns every time. But the point is, they keep trying. That's me. So when I say I did a good job, that takes a lot for me to say I did a good job. Because if I make one note wrong, I don't believe in mistakes or failures, but I go, okay, how can I do that better next time? Because I'm always thinking end zone, touchdown. Forget about if something doesn't go right, what people call mistakes. Forget about it. That was a huge pivotal moment. To be successful is one thing. To stay successful, to be Tom Brady, which I equate myself with that guy, you can be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually prepared, which you should be before you walk on the field. That means you prepare until you walk on stage. But when you get to the line, if we talk football terms, when that ball's hiked, it's adapt or die. Shit's going to happen. So what? That's just life. Shit's going to happen. So when Tom Brady gets intercepted or gets sacked, he's not focusing on that so much. He's thinking, how am I going to get in the end zone? We can't do that play again, or we're going to run it this way. He's only thinking positive. He's all positive, positive, positive. Attack, attack, attack. Not defense, offense. That's the way you've got to think. That's how you stay successful. You got to pivot from, oh, woe is me, into yes, me, end zone. So that's what I've learned from doing all these big shows. So I had this moment when I got done with all my stuff. There was 30 minutes in that show left. I want to go in the audience and find my wife, watch the rest of the show. Oh my God, there's these elite seats right in the middle of the arena. Tom Hanks and his wife, Ringo Starr's his wife, Paul McCartney's girlfriend, George Harrison's widow with his son Danny Harrison, Sean Lennon with Yoko Ono, and then Tom Cruise, Sean Penn, and Johnny Depp. And I'm like, woo! And they're all acknowledging me because they just saw me on the big screen. I knew most of them anyway. But Ringo was applauding, going, great job, Kenny, bravo. Now, I'd played with him. The night before, I did the Grammys with him. And I did 2 weeks prior to that, I played double drums with him on 4 songs. He was being honored by the David Lynch Foundation. Anyway, I knew him, but I never had a moment with him. So everyone's looking at me, and Tom knows me. He kind of wants me to come over. I get down on one knee to think, what am I gonna say to Ringo? I'm thinking I gotta say something, and he goes, "Oh, that's okay. I'm already married, because I'm on one knee." He's so funny. I said, "No, dude, you're the reason why I play drums. You're the reason I play rock and roll, and you and the Beatles set me on a path at age 10 that I'm still on. Basically, you helped me realize why I'm here on Earth."
That is amazing. That's a classic. That's a classic. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's prior to that, I mean, this philosophy, Dr. Aronoff, this is incredible. And then the whole thing, the Ringo thing where do you go? Come on. Where do you go? So besides the Beatles and Ringo, what were your major musical influences back then?
Well, obviously the Beatles, the Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
whatever was on the radio. But jazz. I
Yeah.
mean,
What about hardcore? Like, what about drummers like Buddy Krupa? Those.
yeah,
I mean,
Krupa, Buddy Rich, Louie Bellson,
right?
Elvin Jones with John Coltrane,
Right.
And Miles Davis, whoever was playing with Miles, which was Tony Williams and all these other incredible.
Lifeline, right.
I was listening to Ornette Coleman. I was listening to Stan Getz. What's his name? Joe Morello with Dave Brubeck, and I saw these guys. Connie Kay with the Modern Jazz Quartet, Philly Joe Jones. Anything jazz, I was listening to guys, and I was playing jazz. For you guys out there who haven't heard this, you can make a bet, make $1 million. Go listen to the Burnin' for Buddy CD. It's a tribute to Buddy Rich. And listen, and you can watch me on YouTube, play Straight No Chaser with the Buddy Rich Big Band. Neil Peart produced it, 1990-something. Dude, doesn't sound like me at all because it's big band jazz, blazing speed. But that's where I learned to play jazz as a kid. I didn't have lessons doing it, but I was mimicking it and I could relate to it. So that pivots me into Mitch Mitchell. When Hendrix came out,
right? Okay.
Mitch Mitchell was a jazz drummer,
right?
So I'm hearing him, and I'm like, wow, man, he's got all these jazz type of approach to music, a lot of improvising. That first Hendrix album, Are You Experienced? I mean, he's all over the place doing these jazzy type fills. Hell, John Bonham was into jazz. And skiffle, as they call it over there in England, but so was Charlie Watts.
Big time was, yes.
So was Bonham. So was Ginger Baker, big time. So was Ian Pace. Ian was trying to be Buddy Rich, and these drummers had a swing element in their rock and roll playing. The next generation didn't. I had the swing thing because I grew up hearing jazz and playing it. So every time and for the people listening, the swing influence is like, so if you're playing like a song like Kashmir, goo, ba, do, ga, ba, da, da. So a straight feel would be, you're thinking, gaku, 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 gaku. A swing thing is, gaku, gubakadu, gubakadu. So even though I'm going boo-da-doo, ba, boo-ba-doo, ba-da, and boo-ba-da, something about that swing feel just moves your beats around a little bit in a place where it's got that feel. It's influenced by a swing mentality.
Yeah, and then hitting harder too, I think, was also another thing tdo, right?
The rock, but I'll tell you what, Bonham didn't hit as hard as you think because I watched what do they call it? I was watching DVDs. He had those coated ambassador heads that would last maybe 3 songs for me. The way I'm a slamming hard hitter. So I notice his hair's flying, he's moving his arms around, but he's not hitting as hard as you think.
Interesting.
It looks like he is. Because he had a snare drum where it had that dark, sooted circle on the drum, and then inside it, he had worn that away. That takes like 6 months of playing on a drum every day. He had that in a live concert. And bass drum head had a coated ambassador. I'd blow through that. It wouldn't last a show. So these guys, and talking about Bonham, he'd do fills that were like Elvin Jones. It was all, these were seriously jazz fills. He even did in Moby Dick. He'd go, you start the solo and his hi-hat be going that's Max Roach. That's right from a Max Roach drum solo. So anyway, their touch to feel, I identified with these guys because they had the jazz influence in rock and roll.
Amazing. So I'm going to cut a little bit too. I brought up one of this. I have my vinyl here, and by the way, I don't want to hurt you too bad, but I know I got it on vinyl. So, but to tell you, let's talk about a little bit about Cougar and Mellencamp, and tell the story about the Johnny Cougar thing, which really didn't happen. And then how did it happen that you got back to, with Mellencamp and you got into that whole rock and roll thing right then and there? And then we can get into some good session stuff.
Well, I mean, as a kid, I was listening to jazz and classical, and after I saw the Beatles, and my mom wouldn't call the Beatles up. I started bands. I played in bands all the way through and I was always, and it was during that, and I was always in the best bands because
Is this in Massachusetts or is this somewhere else? Okay.
Yeah, and we had a barn, so everybody hung out at our house.
Gotcha.
Kids would come, and my parents were so liberal and open-minded, and the kids would come to my barn. They'd watch us practice in the bands. They'd be drinking beer, smoking joints, and but when it was time to go to college, there was no School of Rock. So, long story short, I did 5 years of intensive classical training and got so good that I got into the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra and turned it down. And I turned it down because I was following my desire. I turned certainty down for uncertainty, meaning I had a paycheck, I had a job. There aren't that many orchestras, so to get it was an honor. But I turned it down because thank God I followed my heart, which was I wanted to still play in the Beatles.
Rock and roll, right?
Rock and roll. So my parents were looking at me like, man, you had a gig. It was in, all that work in college, and every summer you were at Tanglewood and studying with the Boston Symphony Orchestra. You worked with Leonard Bernstein, Aaron Cope. I mean, everything. You did everything. And I was like, it's like one thing to quit a job when you got another job. It's another thing to quit a job and to follow your heart for something you're not sure where it's going to come, but you believe so much in what you want to do that you're willing to have nothing and try to make something happen eventually, which is what happened. So after 4 years of struggling, trying to make it in a band, I moved back to Indiana. Tried to make it in a band. The idea was write songs, get a record deal, make a record, go on tour. That's what you do, and then you keep doing that. And you keep making money for the record label, for you and everybody, and the rest is history. Didn't happen. So I'm going to move back to New York, or I'm going to move to New York, and I run into this girl, singer-songwriter, who I was telling what I was doing. She said, "Oh, cool," and she mentioned Johnny Cougar. She said that he just got off tour, opening up for Kiss, and he fired his drummer last night. And I went, bing, 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 bing. Oh my God, records, TV, touring, rock star. I got to do this. So I went running out of the restaurant to call the guitar player, Mike, Mike Wanchek, who I just spoke to today because we're doing stuff together, and who's in the Mellencamp band or Cougar band. I said, I went to a payphone because there's no cell phones. I go, Mike, this is Kenny Aronoff, dude, man. How you doing, man? I heard that John fired his drummer last night. I'd love to audition if you have audition. So I'll call you in 2 weeks. Bottom line is, I started memorizing everything on the Johnny Cougar record, and
That's so crazy, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I memorized every beat, every song. I didn't understand why everybody played so simple, but I learned it. I win the audition. 5 weeks later, we go to LA, right here, to make a record at a famous studio. And I tell everybody I know that I made it. You see, I followed my heart. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to be on MTV. I'm going to be on the radio. I'm going to be touring, blah, 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 blah. After 2 days of recording, I get fired.
And now a few words from our sponsor. Hey, Louie, what's the story? What's the story? What's the story? I'll tell you the story. Welcome to our new sponsor, the Greater Long Island and Queens Merchant Association. They're the good guys, the wise guys. Like Stinky Brown's Cabbage Soup Hut just off of Jericho Turnpike. And shout out to Tony's Tobacco and Oxygen Tank Service. One-stop shopping. Tony's got it all. And then you got Nicky Three Fingers Lawnmower Repair Shop. Hey, Nicky Three Fingers, be careful out there, son. And least we forget Sal's. Hell, Sal's, they're everywhere. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Sal's. Pick one. They're all fantastic. So do me a solid. Check these guys out. They're the real deal. You got questions? Call 888-555-6805. 888-555-6805. And now back to the interview.
Wow. What? Why?
Why? Do you know why? Let's hear it.
First of all, I thought John fired me because he's the one that told me. I didn't find out until like 5 years ago when I was having him interview in my autobiography, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll. I had no idea. It was the producer that fired me, but John was the one that had to tell me I was fired. At least that's what John said. That's what John said.
Okay.
So the thing is the reason was I didn't have enough experience making records that get on the radio. You see, so the purpose of a drummer when he's making a record, and I ask drummers this all the time, they never get it right. I say, what's the purpose of a drummer making a record? Oh, well, I mean, I have to keep time and keep beat, all this stuff. No, dude. The end game, the North Star is to get the song on the radio to be a #1 hit single. What I'm saying is it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about we. Yes. You got to be a band guy. You got to figure out how to serve the artist, serve the song, serve the producer, serve the label, serve everybody. What can I do? What's my contribution? Get this song on the radio to be #1. Nobody tells you that. There's no rule book. Suddenly that became the epiphany for me because I was going like, okay, I have no experience making records. So when John told me, by the way, that I was devastated. I felt like a loser, a piece of shit, overwhelmed, sad, all the negative stuff. But I also had that fight in me. And I said, he said, you can stay for the rest of the week, but then you go home. And the words that came out of my mouth were life-changing. No friggin' way am I going back to Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah, right.
So, and the reason why I said that, I didn't know that at the time. I was just like panicking. He was taking away my purpose, my bliss, my happiness, my joy, my truth.
Yeah, you're being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was fighting for it. So I just go get in his face, go, well, am I still your drummer or what? And it's a very tense moment because John would, you could say, John, they grew up, he grew up in a family where you get your ass kicked all the time, So basically he said, yeah, but you're not playing the record. So I then go, well, I'll go in the studio and I'll watch these other guys play my drum parts on your record. I'll learn from that and I'll get better. And that's good for you because I'm your drummer. Didn't say nothing. I'm like, oh my God. He didn't
say no reply.
No reply. And I'm like, felt like an hour. And I went, all right, I'll work for free. You don't have to pay me. I'll sleep on the couch. And he went, okay. That's, what employer doesn't mind having an employee that says I'll work for free?
Yeah, I'll do anything. Right.
So it was really, I felt like such a loser, but I stayed there. I did learn a lot. I wrote stuff down. I ended up playing percussion on the record. I felt so unpopular but I went home and that was the pivotal moment, like I said, where I understood I have to be the best drummer for that guy's music, for him, for the band, get songs on the radio. And thank God I figured that out because that was the beginning of my career.
Amazing. So so talk about American Fool then. When that came out, that was a couple of years later. That was.
So I made a promise I'd make the next record to redeem myself.
Okay.
But that took 2 years to eventually go and make the record.
Right.
Hardest record I ever made. John was going through a divorce. Almost died in a motorcycle accident at 80 miles an hour going past us in the dark, and a dog hit the Harley. He went down, didn't have a helmet on. All we saw was sparks and an explosion when the bike hit the tree. Somehow he jumped on the bike when it went down. Before it hit the tree, he pushed off. So he was in a cast. He was angry. He was not a happy guy, and he was about to lose his record deal. I didn't know that. Again, that would be his second time. So he was screaming at us all the time. He wanted parts and ideas to make his songs hits. So, I mean, he fired 2 guys. I almost got in a fist fight with him. I mean, it was horrible. One day, we only got 4 songs after 9 weeks of recording. But one day I walk in, and the co-producer had this metal box. And I go, Don, I mean,
what's Gaiman, that? Right? Don Gaiman was Don Gaiman. Right. Okay.
I go, what's that? He says, this, the Bee Gees is using it next door. It's called a Lin 1 drum machine. I went, drum machine? Those replace drummers. I'm like,
right.
Oh my God, the triggers. I'm panicking. I'm going to get fired again. I fight or fight, man. I grabbed the machine in the manual and said, well, talk about adapt or die. That's adapting to technology on the spot. Right now, it's not like, oh, woe is me. No way. I grab the machine. I go into the lounge and I'm going to program this thing. So I take the beat I was playing on the drums, program it, and it's got a sound. I give it back to them. And I'm sitting in the lounge going like, what the hell's going on? Am I in the horse and buggy business and the car just showed up and we're going out of business? And I'm freaking out. And then 2 hours later, I get summoned into the control room. John goes, hey, Aronoff, we need a drum solo right here after the second chorus. I'm like, I'm excited because, oh my God, I'm on the record still, but I'm completely terrified. Like, if I fail, I'll be fired again.
Over, right? It's over again,
so
right?
I'm thinking you got to save this song to save your career. I mean, I'm freaking out. Thank God we spent all day getting drum sounds. Nobody knew how. Back then they put drums in vocal booths because you could control the sound. John wanted the biggest drum sound in the world. So they were trying to put mics at different places and nobody knew how to get the right relationship. Anyway, the whole time I'm thinking, serve the song, get the song on the record so it can go on the radio. What can I do to make this song explode out of little car stereo speakers, out of radio speakers? I was thinking all the right stuff. Finally, it's my moment to play. So the machine's going, goosh, 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 ga, doosh, doosh, doosh. Ga, I go, doosh, doo, boom, blam. Bass drum, snare drum, boom, blam. Like make a big entrance, real simple. And I stop. And I look into the control room to get some validation. It's like 9 people going, yeah. So I'm thinking, holy shit, man, I still got my job. All right. So I start doing stuff. I hit a dead end. I'm summoned into the control room and I'm freaking. I got half the people telling me what to do, the other half saying what not to do. My head's spinning. I realized, dude, you're on your own, dude. This is like the World Series. You're up to bat. Either get a home run, win the series, or strike out, and everybody goes home because of you.
You, right. You're pissed off. Right.
So
yeah.
I'm walking toward the drums. I'm like 40 feet away, and I go, man, what are you going to play? 30 feet? I have no idea. 20 feet. Dude, this is your career right now. Do or die. What are you going to play? 10 feet? I don't know. I get to the drums. I'm looking at the drums. I'm looking at them. I'm like, and all of a sudden a light went off in my head. Then went, all right. It wasn't a part, but it was, okay, instead of reinventing the wheel, why don't you just use what you already done and just kind of reshape it? It'd be like if you had a room full of furniture and you went, I don't like the furniture. You got 2 choices. Get rid of it, buy new stuff, or just rearrange it.
Right.
I rearranged it. And long and short of it, I came up with that iconic drum solo that is still being played on the radio now. And here's the trip that I didn't realize. Okay. When that record was done, the label didn't want to put it out. They thought,
really?
Nope, they didn't want to put it out. And they eventually, John goes, typical of John goes, hey, listen, you guys. He didn't use some other words. He went, I write the songs, you sell the records. I write the songs, you sell the records. He started yelling at him, and they did a test on radio, and people, they decided to release Hurt So Good. Hurt So Good goes to number 2. Right. MTV is really digging.
Huge.
And we're making videos in Indiana. So people are like, wow, this is different. These people are, who are these Indiana people? And, the quarries, a little bar in a little town where there's not even a light, but motorcycle guys. So the song goes to number 2. Eye of the Tiger is number 1, but Rocky just come out. So there's no way we were going to compete with that. So Hurt So Good starts to come down. Now, everybody listen, back then, I mean, this charts right now, if you're number 1, nobody even knows you exist. This was the top 100. If this song was anywhere in the top 10, you could hear it on every format, every radio station.
Every hour.
You're on Solid Gold, American Bandstand, Saturday Night Live. You're in every TV show. So you were big. So they do another test to see what kids like. Because back then, radio would play, album-oriented radio station would play every song on the radio, and they'd wait to hear kids calling and say what they like. Right. Jack and Diane is testing way high. So we're told Jack and Diane's will be released. And we're like, really? They want that song? I'm thinking, oh, I hope so. That's great for me.
Yeah, for sure.
They release it. goes to number 1 fast. Hurts So Good stays in the top 10. Now we got 2 songs at top 10. That album won 2 Grammys. And we sold millions. And that's the record the record label didn't want to put out.
That's amazing. You know, one of my favorite songs on that record, obviously the 2. I mean, by the way, Hurts So Good, probably a huge cover band, bar band, huge song.
Yeah.
A song, guaranteed to go over. Hand to Hold On To.
I love
Something about it, right?
Yeah, I you know what? The beat I came up with for that, I completely was thinking Springsteen. What's the song he's doing? Oh, now I can't remember, but it was, what's the song of Springsteen? But it's just, I was thinking Springsteen, and oh man, that's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, I love that song.
Hold On
I
To.
love that song. That's a great story. Aronoff Gold coming out today. Gold coming out. Yeah. So you worked with him for many, many, many years. You've also worked with so many people: Seeger, Adele, Jerry Lee, Fogerty, of course, Smashing Pumpkins. What was that like, Smashing Pumpkins? That's got a different game as well.
Well, let me say this much. I am one fortunate mofo, because it's one thing if you make it in, let's say, mainstream rock like that. But when a guy like me who recorded and got asked to go on tour with the Highwaymen, that's Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson,
right?
Krista and Waylon. These guys, this is not rock and roll.
Right.
So first of all, I was fortunate. The producer asked me to do that record. They loved me. They wanted me to go on road. I said no to them. The manager of Willie's saying, okay, let me get this right. You're saying no to Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Chris Christopherson. I went, yeah, I didn't want to leave Mellencamp yet. So that guy who does that and then doesn't get even asked to audition for the Smashing Pumpkins, the biggest alternative band in the world. Somehow I get asked. The management, I think, saw me play with Fogerty in New York, and they needed a drummer for the Adore tour. And I don't know the true reason, but I think they wanted somebody who was real stable, that had a lot of experience, that could hold the fort down.
Anchor.
Completely different from Jimmy Chamberlain. I think Billy didn't want me to even sound like Jimmy Chamberlain. And who can? Jimmy Chamberlain's one of the coolest, baddest ass drummers out there. Nobody can sound like anybody, but Jimmy has such a unique style, and we're different, and we're good friends, man. Jimmy and I are good friends. Anyway, so to get called to do the audition blew my mind. Now, I have to say, I did instigate it. 2 years prior, I was on tour, an arena tour with Seeger. When I heard they were looking for a drummer in the middle of the Melancholy tour, Smashing Pumpkins, I heard and I called up management, and I sent my resume, which I got shit for later on because it took up 20 minutes of their fax machine to send my resume. So I fly to New York. There's only 5 people who audition. I get the audition, win the audition, which blew my mind. Because for me, it was like, oh my God, I love the Smashing Pumpkins. Right. And I'm now playing.
Completely different too, a completely different gig too, right?
That's what I love. That, and my career is that.
Yeah, painting the canvas.
I am all over the place. So, and usually you get pigeonholed. Oh no, he's a rock drummer of that style. No, he's a metal drummer. No, he's an alternative drummer. Oh no, he's a mainstream drummer. So anyway, this is amazing. Billy Corgan is a genius songwriter, arranger, ideas, photographic memory. It was such an honor to be, and I was with, like, when Darcy was in the band, James Iha, it was unbelievable. And we traveled the world. I mean, we literally were in 3 countries in one day. We had played in Dublin in a small kind of venue, and U2 was there, and really small venue. They wanted to do something very special because they were the biggest they played in humongous, like, festivals, 250,000 people. They wanted to be in like 500 seat venues or 1,000 seat. So we fly the next day, hungover, from Dublin to the Netherlands, play a big festival, the Pink Pop Festival, 250,000 people out there. Then we get on our plane and fly to Paris. 3 cities in one day. And it was amazing. It was amazing. It was not an easy tour. They were going through a lot of stuff, but they had to be on the road. Melancholy had sold 8 million records. That's a double CD. That's 16 million CDs.
Got to work. They got to work. Got to work.
Got to work. Got to follow up. So
Right.
they did. It was incredible.
So what was, speaking of the road, good segue, just as we go, what's the road like? I mean, for you, you still digging the road? Has it taken its toll? Give us some feedback from the road, because it's got to be in your DNA at this point.
Well, when you were young and the audience was young, we were out there being rock stars, and it was fun meeting girls, and
hence the book.
It was fun, man. It was just fun. I mean, like I said, the audience and us were the same age. Now I'm not picking up chicks, and I'm married, and you just don't do that. I finally figured that out. But the thing is that the road, I have so many options now. I have my own studio. I'm a speaker. I do public speaking engagements. And when you're on the road and you commit, like I'm going to go out with Joe Satriani. I just did second record with Joe, and I played with Joe Satriani on Chickenfoot tour, and then I went out with him on the Experience Hendrix tour with me and Doug Pinnick from King's X. But when you go out like for 9 weeks straight, that isn't fun like it used to be, because I have so many other options. And when you're on the road for 9 weeks, you're saying no to a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Dude, I get calls every day for stuff.
Sure.
And so the road, First of all, now I only fly first class because I don't even want to travel anymore. I'm sick of it. So, things like that to make it more comfortable. And I want to play with people I like. I want to play the music that I love. I'm not just doing it to make a buck anymore. There's other variables. So the road isn't what it used to be. Because, when I was first of all, when I was younger, I was like, I couldn't wait to get on the road. Who am I going to meet?
Yeah, right, exactly.
It was fun, man. It's like, wow, this city. And we go out and, and now that you got COVID and stuff. So, I was just talking to Lukather yesterday from Toto. He's out with Toto's out with Journey.
Right.
And Luke says, they're getting COVID tests every day. You don't leave the hotel. You don't go out.
Confined. It's much more confined.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the road, and, I got to leave my wife for 9 weeks. I like seeing her,
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff like that,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not like what it was, but I make it. I'm a very positive guy, so I make everything great. And I prepare for every performance. I take every performance seriously, like it's my last performance. So,
right.
Yeah.
I love the gusto. The gusto's, you got me juiced, man. You got me juiced for life here, which is pretty amazing.
That's why I speak.
I know, exactly. So, a super session band, you're on drums. Give me the super session band, the Kenny Aronoff's special.
Okay.
Anybody ever ask you that?
Not in the studio. So on guitars, I'll take Jeff Beck, and then maybe Joe Satriani for contrast, or Steve Lukather. Then we go there. Then on bass, let's put Sting in there because he can sing. Well, because he can sing.
Okay. So how about just need somebody to anchor with you?
Okay, Lee Sklar.
Yeah, Leland Sklar.
Everybody.
Okay.
I love Lee.
Leland I love, definitely.
He's a badass. There's another guy you might not know from Jane's Addiction. He's one of the great bass players, Chris Chaney, who I've done a lot of sessions with. He's great. Government Mules bass player, Jorgen Carlson. There's other bass players I'm trying to think that are just monsters. There's a few there.
Ron Carter.
Well, yeah.
I know. Rock and roll super session. We're not going yet. Okay. So you got the bass.
All right. But there's a lot of great bass players.
There are. Keyboards?
Okay. Keyboards. Okay.
Jesus.
Oh, Phil and Gaines.
Greg Fillingham. Okay, yes, right.
Bad Mofo.
Yeah, Bad Mofo.
Another guy that I've done stuff with who's the MD for Lady Gaga, Michael Bearden, who did Kennedy Center Honors. He can play anything. If you add organ, Rami Jaffe from Foo Fighters or Ben Montench from
the Tom Petty.
From the Tom Petty.
From the Heartbreakers. Okay.
Because organ's a whole different thing. You got to have piano, synthesizer.
Absolutely.
Then you have organ.
Yeah, the keyboards, right? Exactly. Okay.
Okay. I mean, there's your starting.
How about a horn? How about some horns? We'll add that in, then we'll move on.
Oh man, all the guys from the Kennedy Center honors. If you, I'm trying to think. You want to get people that play together. Oh, Chris Bodie, who I went to IU with, but he's more of a solo player.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah. But he can do anything. He's a section player.
Right.
For superstars, we'll get him. Why don't we just get the whole horn section from Saturday Night Live? You know, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Bass player would be Willie.
Will Lee, right? Of course, right.
Oh, and on organ, you could get Paul Schaefer.
Right, Paul. Okay.
I'm gonna play with Paul Schaefer coming up. I'm doing one of these TV things where I play with everybody.
Oh, that's
and
so
Paul,
cool.
I think, is in the band.
And these guys are these guys are real players. You know, they separate the men from the boys. They got the ears. They got everything. Yeah. That's great. Advice for aspiring musicians now, Kenny. Because the state of the industry has changed quite a bit, but you still. I'm sure you have some advice for the young people, and what do you got for them?
Well, it's in any field, but the music business has changed so much. It's not like when we were selling records. I'm on 3 albums that sold 40 million each, and when labels are making 82 cents on the dollar, that's 82 cents times 120 million right there. I'm on 300 million records sold. So that's 300 million times 82 cents. That's a lot of money. And with that money, they can afford to put bands in studios. They can afford to put them on the road. They can get management. They can get publicists. They can get, production. They can pay to get songs on the radio. All that stuff's gone. So you're on your own. So it still comes down to the same stuff. You got to be self-disciplined. You got to work hard. You got to persevere. So it starts with, do you really want to do this? How bad do you want to do it? Because that's the fuel. That's the fuel that will fuel you to work hard, be self-disciplined, and persevere. There's no shortcuts. If you're waiting for stuff to happen, it can happen. 0 equals 0. It's like math. You do nothing, you get nothing. And you get guys like me that are working their ass off 24/7. You just aren't going to be able to compete. So you got to, if you want to be successful in music, you got to be willing to practice on your craft every day, 7 days a week. And then also you have to consider the market where now social media is important. How you can be seen, how you can be heard. And so this is even in my world, in my world, my speaking agent, somebody calls up, I need a speaker. They go, Kenny Aronoff's got this great teamwork speech. Kenny Aronoff, I don't know this. Go to his website. I got a new website.
Great website, by the way. I love it. We're going to put it down in the description below. Great. I love it. It's beautiful.
You like it? It's just Aronoff.
It knocks out. It hits you. Hits you.
You're right. It's very classic.
It's your personality.
Yeah. That's the whole point. Everything you do has to be at the level you want to be. So social media has to be at that level. Your website has to be at that level. Everything. You can't, you got to have a big fan base. People go like, well, Kenny's played on 300 million records. So how come he's got one fan on Twitter? Not good. No, not good. And, a lot of people have me do podcasts and stuff. They go, what's his social media? Oh, he's got 300,000 followers. Oh, that'd be great. We want him on our podcast. I mean, it is a marketing tool. So, and there's another thing I want to share. You've got to have these things I call the 3 C's together. You've got to know how to connect with people and communicate with them. Because once you connect and communicate, now you can collaborate. When I do a session with Elton John, I go right up to him, make friends with him. I want him to like me. I want to like him. So that when we're playing,
I'm on your squad. I'm on your squad. Right. Yeah.
I mean, listen, I had this verified from an NFL center recently. I said, is Tom Brady that guy? He said, absolutely.
For sure.
Tom Brady walks in. He's humble. He's like 7 Super Bowl rings, but he makes friends with everybody. And those people want to play with him. He's team leader. No Smart. Doubt. So
no doubt.
That's the advice I give people.
That's great. How's your hearing, by the way? How are you? How are you hearing doing?
Horrible.
Okay, because I had a good friend of mine today. I talked to him, a great guitar player. Shout out to Gary Pierce. He said, I said, gee, what do you? I'm talking to Kenny today, but the guy's like flipping, and the guy goes, yeah. Ask him how his ears are. I go, his ears for sight, for hearing, or hearing? He goes, no, hearing.
Yeah. My eyes are great. My hearing is way down. I mean, I play everything loud. My wife's like, God, the TV's. Right. So I've lost a lot of high end. It's just the way it is. It's like I grew up. We didn't wear earplugs. I love the ringing in my ears. Made me feel like I did something. Anyway, my hearing's bad. So it's the toll I've taken from playing live music.
And playing, right? Of course. So I want to tell you, thank you so much. We're coming down to the end.
Yeah.
Quick hits at the end. I got a couple of questions for you. Quick hits.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure of Kenny Aronoff that kind of nobody really knows, like something you might do that maybe even cringeworthy, like watch The Housewives or Celebrity Bowling. You know what I mean? Come on. You got something for us?
No, I'm like, when I'm not, my go-to things to do when I'm not practicing or recording or working on business,
right,
is, I love the NFL.
Okay, so sports, because that's my next question. Okay, so
sports. I'm big sports guy.
Sports. What's your who are your teams?
Well, Indianapolis Colts, because I lived in Indiana, and I'm very, very good friends with Jim Mercer, the owner. We used to hang out. I've known for 35 years, and he has a music collection that is ungodly. Not just music. Oh, dude. And so we're performing and playing. Like, he'll take this music, he'll take a semi and move a lot of things. It's not just music. It's like he got Ringo Stitt from Kit from the Ed Sullivan Show. He's got Gilmore's guitar he paid $3.5 million for. He's got all this stuff, but he's also got Muhammad Ali's shoes from the Thriller in Manila.
Oh, really? So big collector.
And he's got Abraham Lincoln's handwritten stuff. Big collector of all kinds of stuff. And he likes to show this museum. So we get into a fancy hotel like a Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons, or we just were at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and he creates a museum. But then we have a super group, and we do a concert. And in the band is Kenny Wayne Shepherd, me, Mike Wanchek from Mellencamp, Mike Mills from REM, a keyboard player with the Bodines and Mellencamp. Kenny Wayne couldn't do it, so I got them Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Oh, ZZ, right?
And we had Robert Randolph play with us, and we play about 12 songs. It's a really cool thing. So I've flown with the Colts to games. I've been to 11 Super Bowls. So I'm a Colts fan. There's no question.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
And lastly, give me your go-to road food.
Go-to road food. I just try to eat as healthy as I possibly can. I put a lot of supplements. Everyone makes fun of me because I carry 2 suitcases. Well, a lot of it is supplements, vitamins, workout stuff. My go-to is, I guess my bad habits would be I like bourbon, smooth whiskey, and wine. That's my bad habits. But if you do it in moderation, it's not bad at all.
No, not at all. So thanks so much, brother. I can't tell you. It really was a pleasure. I hope you had a good time.
I did, man. Great question,
really
dude.
Appreciate. I can't tell you. I got chills. It's one of those things. Now I can move on. But any shout outs? Anything? What's coming up? What are we going to look for? Okay.
Joe Satriani album's coming out. Another one that I did that's coming out in March. It's maybe out already, and I'm going to be touring with him later in the year. I'm touring with Fogarty starting very soon. Let's see, I did this Ursay thing recently. I'm doing another one in June. I have an audio version of my book that's out. I'm always recording. I'm recording 2 of Corey Hart's big singles. I wear my sunglasses at night.
Sunglasses at night, really?
I re-recorded.
How's he doing, by the way?
He's great, man.
Canada, right? Canadian, though, right?
No, he lives in the Bahamas now.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah. So we're gonna film next week for Netflix. Those 2 songs something for Netflix. And then I'm also doing this big TV show for the veterans, and I'll be playing with Robbie Krieger from The Doors, Sammy Hagar, and on and on and on, a whole bunch of people, and that'll eventually be on TV. Speaking engagements, but they're in the corporate world. And I got a wine coming up, very expensive. I mean, it's not real expensive, $60, but it's a very classy Shiraz Cabernet. That'll come out later this year. I'm having a meeting with the Napa Valley winery in about 2 hours. Just all kinds of stuff. I'm constantly, I may be having my own podcast. It just goes on and on. It's just every day unfolds. But that's pretty much the crux of it.
You sleep at all?
I sleep usually 3.5 hours, wake up, but I make my sleep at least 6 hours, 7, but I wake up 3 or 4 times a night.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, man. I could talk to you for hours. Kenny Aronoff, Grind and Pivot, Queens, New York. I mean, we grinded, we pivoted. It was just.
It was great, man. Thank you.
Dude, I really, really appreciate it. God bless you, man.